sense that he is near. And there's a comfort that comes in just being able to sense that he is there. And so these sheep that are following their shepherd, they could actually recognize his smell and they would follow him, but they also knew his voice, and he would make noise as he would be going through. And oftentimes, as we do with pets, we name them, we give them names. And so whenever he would call them by name, they would recognize the voice of their shepherd, and a stranger they wouldn't follow. Just like your children know your voice. And a stranger they don't follow. They know the voice of their children. It's amazing how a mother knows the cry of her baby from other folks' babies. She said, no, that's my baby. I would be placed, I couldn't distinguish it. But my wife could say, well, shh, shh. She'd hear one of our babies crying, and I'm like, how do you know that that's one of our children? And she could sense something. I don't know how, because, but she's a mother, and she had an instinct, a maternal instinct that let her know that, hey, that's my baby calling for something that I can supply into his or her life. And this is the way that Jesus is to us. He cares for us as a good shepherd, and the position of the shepherd was to guard his sheep, because he knew that they would come under the attack of wolves. And so there was what was called a shepherd's staff. Every shepherd carried a staff. And one of the things that this shepherd's staff was designed for, on one end it was relatively sharp, and that was used to keep wolves away. And on the other it had a hook. And that was used when a sheep was in a precarious position. They would put it around and pull them out of danger. And so there would be sometimes if a sheep got off course, the shepherd could simply reach his staff in and pull him to safety, pull him out of a pit, pull him out of a trench or something that he'd been caught, and lift him back out. So it was a weapon on one end, and it was that was designed to rescue on the other. So God can give you something that is a double-edged sword, and it protects your sheep on one end, and it attacks the enemy on the other. And it's all in the power of what a shepherd is called to do. And the only reason that he was here as a loving shepherd is because he knew that if his children lived long enough, that their lives would come under attack. And that's why I am so glad that he gave us the message here, and he said, think it not strange. Think it not strange. He tells us that over in the book of James. Think it not strange. In Peter, he mentions, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you. The word trial means test or temptation, trial, all of those. Test, temptation, or trial. In James chapter 1, he mentions to us in verse 2, he says, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various or diverse tests, temptations, or trials. Count it joy. When? Notice he didn't say count it joy if, because he knows, and he's prophesying to us and telling us that if you live long enough, your life is going to come under trial, under tribulation, under trouble. You're going to come under testing. But notice he says, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. And he says, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. So there's a reason that God allows things to persist in our life for a certain period of time. There's a reason that he allows things to persist for a certain period of time. So I want you to realize that although we recognize enemies in various people, we see terrorists as enemies, and thieves and murderers and rapists and racists and sexists and all of these folks. But these are all ultimately motivated by one common enemy, a chief enemy that we call Satan, that we call Lucifer, that we call the devil, that we call Slewfoot, that we call the great deceiver, that we call the accuser of the brethren. He has a lot of different names in Scripture. But I want you to realize that it is not strange for people who love God to come under attack. In fact, if your life never comes under demonic or satanic attack, you are in grave spiritual danger. Because the devil doesn't fight those that he's already got. I mean, if you don't ever get demonic or satanic opposition in your life, you know what that means? That you're headed in the same direction the devil is. See, when you are walking in a contrary direction with the devil, you're going to have confrontations with him. You're going to run into him. But if you never have any demonic confrontation, it's because both of you all are walking the same direction. I mean, he's got his arm around your shoulder. I mean, I know that some people that are on a first name basis with the devil. I mean, they're really kind to each other. But let me tell you, let me define a satanic or demonic attack for you. It is a deliberate, willful, and well-designed act. A deliberate, willful, well-designed act intended to bring harm to a person in any way. Intended to bring harm to a person in any way. A deliberate, willful, and well-designed act intended to bring harm to a person in any way. Physically, mentally, economically, relationally, and spiritually. A satanic or demonic attack. A deliberate, willful, and well-designed act intended to bring harm to a person in any way. Physically, mentally, economically, relationally, and spiritually. And let me say this to you. Read my lips. Nobody is beyond demonic attack or temptation. Nobody is beyond satanic attack or temptation. Nobody is immune to temptation. No one can live life without facing temptation and attack. It's impossible. And please understand that every temptation that we receive, every attack that we get in our life is presented to the heart or the mind. It's presented to the heart or the mind. Every demonic attack, every temptation. Please understand that, loosely understood, the devil is the sum of his temptations. When you hear the admonition in Scripture to resist the devil and he will flee from you, he's not talking about the guy in the red suit. The devil is the sum of his temptations. When you resist demonic temptation, you resist the devil. So when it says resist the devil, you actually resist him by resisting the temptations that he tries to bring against your life as a deliberate, willful, and well-designed act intended to bring harm to you in any way, physically, mentally, economically, relationally, and spiritually. And so every temptation, every attack is brought against the heart of the mind. He launches his attack against the heart and the mind, because this is the real battlefield. The enemy wants to attack the seat of your will. He wants to attack the seat of your will. That's why he loves to get folks strung out on drugs and alcohol, because they lose control of their will. The enemy wants to attack the seat of your will, your emotions, your beliefs, and your attitudes, which feed into your will. That's exactly what he wants to attack. And you have to be real careful with him, because he's such a subtle devil. He is. He's really subtle. He's never blatant. His tactics are real smooth. He's a smooth operator. He is. He's smooth. I want my son to come and help me to illustrate just how smooth that the devil is. Now, I brought something that's real simple here. This is just some common thread here. Now, I'm going to ask him to just put his hands together, just like you're clapping. Stand right here. This way. Good. Where's Mr. Cameraman? Oh, here they come, so the people can see what's happening. Now, this is just regular, ordinary thread. And I'm just going to wrap it around his hands just to tie him up. Now, I've got it wrapped around there twice now. Now, let's see if you can break out. Oh, he broke out. You would wonder if any